The readings for this weekend are full of faithful people who have their doubts. We read about Elijah in 1 Kings. After Elijah, one of the greatest prophets of the Old Testament. I mean, he was one of the three that were on the Transfiguration Mount with Jesus, Moses and Elijah and Jesus. Elijah was a big player, and yet we see Elijah. He's in the mountain. He's done these wonderful miracles, showing the people of that God is the true God, not Baal, but God is the true God. And what did it get him? The prophets of God were slaughtered, and Elijah goes off by himself into a mountain, says, "Just end it for me. I'm done." He's had it. He had his doubts. What good was it anyway? What did I accomplish? He had his doubts, and of course God came to him in different ways, but in the silence too. And now we see Peter and the other disciples, after Jesus had dismissed the crowds, after feeding them, like Jeannie mentioned last week, 5,000 or 20,000 or however many there were. Jesus taught them, fed them, sent them on their way to do their mission, I imagine. And now Peter and the others are in the boat, and Jesus was walking to them, and they panic, which is hard for me to believe, being some of them were fishermen, and I imagine their whole lives were on the water, and it was nothing new for them. But what was new was Jesus coming to them on the water. And guess who comes out and says, "If you command me, I will come to you." And so Jesus says, "Come." Peter walks a few steps. He's actually on the water, walks a few steps, sees the winds, becomes afraid, starts sinking, and Jesus grabs him, pulls him up. They both get into the boat, calm. That's a lot of stuff going on in this whole reading of this gospel reading. You could several kinds of different sermons written about this. Peter wanted to be close to Jesus. He was a guy that wanted to be, I don't know if you want to say first. He wanted to be the one who was out on the edge. He wanted to be the one who was on the fringes. He wanted to be the one that was the favorite, I guess. Maybe that was just his nature with everything. We see that in this, Jesus is throwing him a lifeline. It says, "Take my hand, come out, I'll grab you." Taking a lifeline that Jesus throws out, a lifeline for new life, to be saved, to be healed, all kinds of different things coming with this lifeline. We are offered lifelines in our lives. Do we take it? We offer lifelines to other people. Do they take it? I think about work that we do with people, people in need. And that could be us at some point, too. It is us once in a while that we need help. I think about other countries' mission work that we do, that we go on. As we know, mission work can be tricky business. We may know what we think is best for someone else. We may throw the lifeline that we think people need, and in reality, it's not at all what they need. Going out to the Pine Ridge Reservation, we see some brand new homes, apartment complex sitting there, abandoned. But it was built within the last couple of years. But the natives couldn't afford it, so they can't live there. I mean, they can't afford the water, the electricity, and that kind of thing, so it just sits there. But some well-meaning missionaries went down there. We're going to build them homes. They went down there, built the homes, and left. And now they're left. They sometimes we don't ask, "What do you need? How can we assist you? How can we help you? What do you need from us? Not for our sakes, but for our relationship's sake, for your sakes. We don't do mission for us. We do it for all of us, for you. But we need to find out what you need. And it could be a lot different from what we think you need. The lifelines are thrown out often. Case in point, think about this. Our government and North Korea's government going back and forth with all kinds of things. What kind of a lifeline do we need to throw to North Korea? Think about that. Is there a lifeline that they need that nobody's providing or asking? Or other countries that need something? Do we stop to ask, to listen? What is it that you need? What kind of lifeline do we provide? What kind of lifeline do we need? Self-reflection as a people of faith, as a country, as society. What kind of lifelines do we need? Do we need from other people? Do we accept that from other people? Because I know that sometimes we have a hard time catching the lifeline from someone else, receiving the grace from someone else, receiving help from someone else. Oftentimes we're good at giving and not receiving so much. And it's a two-way street, because deeper relationships can be formed on this giving and receiving relationship. But what is it that people need? What kind of lifeline can we as people of God provide other people? And what is it that God is asking of us to do? I mean, really, realistically, what can we do for other people in the world, for our neighbors, for our families? What is it that we can do? For some, all we can do is pray, and that's enough. I mean, always pray. Always pray. No matter, unceasingly pray. But there's got to be a relationship to say, here are my needs, here are my wants, and what are yours? The vulnerability involved in letting your guard down and receiving a lifeline from someone else. How hard is it for us to get on our knees and say, God, I can't do it anymore. I need your help. I need to be open to whatever you will give me. To be open to that. The disciples, after Jesus had done this, pulled Peter out of the water, got in the boat, stilled everything, and they praised Jesus. You are truly the Son of God. At that point, where was their faith? They expressed this witnessing of this miracle. As they witnessed the feeding of the 5,000, as they've witnessed healings of many different kinds, of witnessing Jesus including people into their meals and talking to women and other people that are not supposed to be talked to. Truly you are the Son of God. What is it for us that we need to get to the point and say, truly you are the Son of God? And what does it do for us? Is that the lifeline? That we understand that God is truly the Son of God, and to delve deep into that? Or do we get blown by strong winds? I know I do. And what if Peter actually did walk on the water, right to Jesus, and they both walked arm in arm on the water to the boat? How would our faith be different? How would Peter's faith be different? Could we relate to a Peter who just walked on the water, perfect? Or can we relate to the Peter who is walking and all of a sudden gets scared and falls and needs help? I can relate to the second Peter better, because that's more like who I am. I mean, there are points where we feel like we can walk on water, and seemingly we can, but we really have a hard time. We can't do it. We need that lifting the arm from the arm. And we notice that Peter didn't reach out his hand to grab Jesus and meet him halfway. It was all Jesus. It was all Jesus grabbing it and pulling him up. It's all God's act. And Peter was the passive receiver. We're all the passive receivers. We extend a hand to each other. God extends his full arm to us and pulls us up when we're down. Pulls us like Elijah got pulled up from his deep, deep depression. Pulls up whomever from the depths of despair, however that might be. It's not us, it's God who does all these things. The witness of Jesus teaching, preaching, healing, saving, stilling the elements. It's all God. It's all in God's hands. And for us to sit back and receive something this great, it's sometimes hard to understand, to put our hands on it, to put our arms around it, but it's there for us, for all of us to take. There are different ways of hearing, responding, and seeing the message from God. But it's there in many different ways. Elijah stood on the side of the mountain and heard the earthquakes, the winds, the rains, and then the silence. And that's when God spoke. The message is different for all of us sometimes. But we know the message is God reaching down to hold us up, to pull us out, to save us, to heal us, just like he has always done with all of his servants, even those who doubt and fall, like Elijah, like Peter, like me, like you. Blessed be God who is there for us. Amen.